You have been waiting, not wondering, not hoping in a casual, passing way, waiting. The kind of waiting that has a shape to it, a specific hollow in your chest that you press against every morning when you open your eyes, and the thing you prayed for is still not there. You have done everything right. You have been faithful longer than most people. Stay consistent with anything. You show up. You tithe. You serve. You carry the word God gave you like something fragile and expensive, and you handle it carefully because you know what it cost you to receive it, and you know what it will cost you to let it go. And yet, here you are, still waiting. And the enemy has been louder lately than he has ever been. Not quieter, louder, not retreating, advancing. The attacks have not decreased as your faith grew. They increased. You have noticed this, and it has unsettled you more than you have admitted to anyone, because the theology you were handed said that faithfulness produces peace, and what you are living does not feel like peace. It feels like war. But what if the volume is the signal? What if the attack getting louder is not evidence that God has abandoned the plan? What if it is evidence that the plan is about to execute? This is not the story of someone who gave up. This is the story of what you are about to understand about the battlefield you are standing on right now. The attack did not start when your breakthrough got close. It started when God made the decision, not when you saw it, not when you felt it, not when you prayed the prayer that felt like a turning point. When he decided it, before you were born, before your parents were born, before the specific shape of your assignment had any earthly form. And the enemy, who was present in the heavenly places when that decision was recorded, has known about it longer than you have. Think about what that means. The thing you are still believing for, the business, the healing, the marriage, the ministry, the open door, was approved at a level you cannot access before you prayed the first prayer about it. God had already said yes before you had the language to ask, and the enemy heard the yes. He does not come after average. He does not deploy his highest strategies against the person whose faith is going nowhere. He does not organize sustained multi-year campaigns against someone God has no plan for. The intensity of the resistance you are experiencing right now is not random. It is proportional. It is calculated. It is indexed to the size of what is coming. And if you understand that calculation, the attack stops feeling like abandonment and starts feeling like confirmation. The pressure is not punishment. The pressure is proof. Your great-grandmother could not read. She worked someone else's fields in someone else's county in a state that had not long ago decided she was legally a person. She prayed anyway. She prayed in a language that did not have the theological vocabulary you have now. She did not talk about generational blessings or kingdom assignment or spiritual inheritance. She talked to God the way you talk to someone in the room with you, because to her, he was. She asked for her children to have what she could not have. She asked for the door to open for the ones coming after her. She did not see the answer. She never saw it. She prayed and she worked and she died before the door moved even 1 inch. But the prayer did not die with her. It did not expire. It was received and recorded and assigned to a generation she would never meet. The enemy knew about that prayer too. He has been fighting the answer to it your entire life. Every time something came close and then fell through, the opportunity that dissolved, the relationship that ended before it could carry you forward, the door that opened and then closed 2 weeks later, he was not being sloppy. He was being surgical. Because what God is about to release through you is not just for you. It carries a lineage. It fulfills a petition spoken in a field by a woman whose name you may barely know. And the enemy has been doing the math on that prayer for generations. Every setback you have experienced in the last 3 years has had a target. The target was not your comfort. The target was your inheritance. He knows what you're carrying better than you do. That is why the fight has been so specific. You woke up last Tuesday at 3 a.m. and could not go back to sleep. You told yourself it was stress. It was not stress. There is something that happens in the spirit in the hours before a shift, a restlessness, a low-frequency awareness. Your body registers before your mind has a category for it. The soldiers who were at Gethsemane slept through it. The disciples slept through the exact hour that Jesus asked them to watch with him, not because they were faithless, but because their flesh could not perceive what their spirit had not been trained to read. What was kept from them in their bodies was this: the hardest hour and the turning hour are the same hour. The moment that feels most like the ground is falling is the moment just before the ground becomes solid in a way it has never been before. You have been in the hardest hour. You have mistaken the weight of it for evidence of failure. It is not failure, it is proximity. The enemy does not attack the thing that is far away. He does not waste resources on distance. He attacks what is close enough to touch. He attacks what is one conversation away, one morning away, one decision away from changing everything. The 3 a.m. moments are not evidence that you are losing ground. They are evidence that you are standing on it. The specific way the attack has come at you matters. Not in general, specifically. Think about what has been targeted. Not your circumstances first, your mind, your confidence in what God told you, your sense of your own identity, your own calling, the internal narrative of who you are and what you were made for. He has come after the story before he came after the money, before he came after the relationships, before he came after the health, because he understands an architecture you may have never been taught. The external life is built on the internal agreement. If he can change what you believe about yourself and about what God said, he does not need to touch the external at all. The internal collapse will do the work for him. He wants you to look at the timeline and conclude that the timeline means no. He wants you to look at what has not happened yet and decide that not yet means never. He wants you to hear the word God gave you, the specific word, the one you wrote down in your journal at 2 a.m. 2 years ago, the one you have rehearsed in the dark when nothing around you confirms it. And he wants you to begin to quietly wonder if you made it up. That is the assignment, not your breakthrough, your confidence in the one who promised it. Because if he can move you off that, the breakthrough does not disappear. It simply becomes inaccessible, not because God changed his mind, but because you stopped being positioned to receive it. Fear is not just an emotion. Fear is a location, and that location is outside the transfer zone. There's a man in the Gospel of John who waited 38 years. 38 years beside a pool that was supposed to carry healing, watching other people get into the water before him, watching other people walk away from the edge, healed and whole, carrying the weight of what he could not reach. 38 years of being close to the answer and unable to close the distance. The text does not tell us he was faithful the whole time. It does not tell us his prayer life was consistent or his attitude was exemplary. It tells us he was there. He stayed in proximity to where God moved, even when God had not moved for him yet. And Jesus does not walk past him. He stops. He asks one question. Not, have you been consistent? Not, do you deserve this? Not, have you maintained a good attitude about the weight? He asks, do you want to get well? He asks it because the enemy, in 38 years beside that pool, had gotten very good at negotiating this man's expectations downward. The ceiling had lowered. The ask had shrunk. The best version of the future available to him had quietly become simply being close to where miracles happened for other people. Jesus asks the question because the want has to be spoken again out loud. The man has to recommit to the original size of the ask before the answer can be released. He cannot receive a large thing through a small opening. The man says yes. He picks up his mat. He walks. 38 years. Resolved in a conversation that did not look like the breakthrough moment from the outside. It looked like two men talking beside a pool on an unremarkable afternoon. It was every other day until it wasn't. You do not know which ordinary day is yours. That is the design. If you knew the day, you would white-knuckle your way to it and arrive at it exhausted and hollow and unable to receive what you worked so hard to reach. The not knowing is not withholding. It is protection. It is also training. Every day you hold the word without visible confirmation is a day your capacity to carry the answer is being enlarged. You're being built for something heavy. Heavy things require a foundation that a comfortable weight cannot produce. The enemy knows this, which is why his primary instrument right now is not opposition in the traditional sense. It is exhaustion. He wants you tired. Tired of believing, tired of contending, tired of holding a word in your hands that has not manifested in a timeline you were promised. Tired people let go. Tired people shrink the ask and call it peace. Tired people begin renegotiating the vision downward, calling it wisdom, calling it humility, calling it spiritual maturity, when really what has happened is that the length of the silence has slowly worn down a wall inside them that was supposed to stay standing. Do not let the length of the weight renegotiate the size of what you are believing for. God did not give you a small word. He did not hand you something with an expiration date and neglect to tell you. He did not make a promise and then quietly revise it while the years accumulated. What he said in the secret place, in the early morning hours, in the specific moment when you knew that you knew, that is still standing. The enemy's increasing volume is not God's silence. It is panic. It is the sound of a strategy that is running out of time. Here's what the enemy does not want you to understand about the sequence. He attacks hardest at the end, not the beginning. In the beginning of your faith walk with a promise, the attacks are light. Discouragement, distraction, a little doubt. Because in the beginning, the promise is still far enough away that a light attack can add years to the delay. But as the timeline compresses, as you close the distance between where you are and where God said you would be, the attacks have to escalate to produce the same effect. What used to take a small discouragement to derail now takes a sustained, organized assault. You are not in a harder season because you are further from the answer. You are in a harder season because you are closer to it. The warfare is the distance marker. You are inside the final stretch, and the enemy is using everything he has left because what he has left is running out. He is not fighting from a position of strength. He is fighting from a position of urgency. There is a difference. Strength attacks when it wants to. Urgency attacks because it has to. What you're experiencing right now is urgency. He has to stop you now or the door opens. He has to stop you today or the prayer lands. He is not calm. He is not confident. He is desperate. And desperate attacks are loud. You have been reading the volume as evidence of his power. Read it as evidence of his timeline. This is what you need to carry into today and tomorrow and the days after that until the morning when it breaks. The attack increasing is not the sign that you missed it. It is the sign that you are directly on top of it. The warfare getting louder is not evidence that God has gone quiet. It is evidence that the enemy is running out of runway. He does not increase pressure on the person who is far from their breakthrough. He does not escalate his most sophisticated tactics against a faith that has no forward movement. He reserves the most concentrated resistance for the person who is one step away from walking through a door that cannot be shut once it opens. He is not attacking your past. Your past is settled. He's attacking your future, specifically the future that belongs not just to you, but to everyone downstream of you. He's attacking the prayer your great-grandmother prayed in a field on a Tuesday that looked like every other Tuesday. He is attacking what you carry in your body, in your bloodline, in the room where you have been standing faithfully and quietly and sometimes barely, because barely is still standing, and standing is enough. He is about to move, not eventually. The resistance you are feeling is not the feeling of a war that has no end. It is the feeling of the last push before the thing breaks open. The water is already stirring. You have already done the hard part. Stay in position. The ordinary day is coming. And when it comes, it will look like a conversation by a pool. It will look like nothing special until it is everything. You will pick up what you have been carrying. You will walk. And 38 years or 3 years or however many years belong to your story, they will resolve in a morning that started like every other morning until it didn't.